Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. My name is Anjali, and in this video we are going to talk about acids and bases. That means we are going to cover things which are there in chapter 2 of class 10th science. So moving on, first we are going to talk about what are acids. So acids means that those substances which release hydrogen ions when they get dissolved in water. Hydrogen ions can be represented with the help of symbol that is H plus ions. Now, if we talk about the pH value of acids, first let's just talk about what is the full form of pH. So, pH means potential of hydrogen. So, every single substance which is an acid will have a pH value less than 7. They are sour in taste and they are corrosive to metals, stones, buildings and statues. That means acids can cause harm to metals, stones, buildings and statues. Moving on, now we are going to cover some examples of acids that have different pH value ranging from pH 1 till pH 6. So number 1 is hydrochloric acid, which is said to be a very strong acid. So this hydrochloric acid has a pH value of 1. And students, this hydrochloric acid can also be called as a battery acid. Then we have stomach acid. Stomach acid has a pH value of 2. Moving on, if we talk about lemon juice, which is citric acid, it has a pH value of 3. Then we have tomatoes and acid rain. They have pH value of 4. Then if we talk about what is the pH value of regular rain, so the answer would be it is around 5. At last, if we talk about pH value of milk, it's around 6. So with this, we have covered examples of different acids that have different pH values. आइए अब बात करते हैं about bases. So bases are very different from that of acids. So whenever you will dissolve these bases in water, they will release hydroxide ions. Hydroxide ions can be represented by using symbol that is OH with a negative sign. Talking about their pH value, every single substance which is a base will have a pH value above 7. Taste wise, they are bitter, they are very slippery when you feel it, and then they can be corrosive to skin. That means they can cause some damage to our skin. So here we have different substances which are all bases having different values of pH. So we have ocean water whose pH value is around 8. If we talk about antacid, it has pH of 10. So antacid means that whenever someone feels like, okay, he has acidity and he's not feeling well, we can give them antacid tablets so that when these antacid tablets will come into action, they will neutralize all the acidity. Moving on, we have cleaners whose pH value is around 11. Then we have baking soda whose pH value is around 12. Baking soda हम अपने kitchens में use करते हैं. Then we have pH value of 13 and the substance is bleach. So students, आपने notice किया होगा कि आपके जो moms है कभी भी अगर वो bleach के लिए जा रहे हैं, so वो always patch test करते हैं. Why? Because it can cause some damage to the skin. So to avoid such conditions, हम क्या करते हैं? We first do patch test अगर वो ठीक है, कंफर्टेबल है, then we go ahead. If not, then हम कभी नहीं करते. Moving on, we have the last base, which is drain cleaner or sodium hydroxide, and they have a pH value of 14. So with this, we have covered different substances. All of them were bases and they have different values of pH. अब हम बात करते हैं about the pH scale. So students, pH scale basically एक स्केल के फॉर्म में होता है that has different markings starting from 0 till 14. So pH means potential of hydrogen, and it will help you to measure acidity of liquids. यानी ये आपकी help करेगा to know that whether a particular substance is acidic in nature or not. So here, since this scale has numeric values, each numeric change in pH will represent a factor of 10. So a pH of 3 will be around 100 times more acidic than that of a pH which will have, like a substance which will have a pH value of 5. Then if we talk about a pH of 6, it is going to be around how many? 10 times 10 times 10 times more acidic than that of pH of 9. So as हम value switch on करते हैं, you'll get a factor of 10. So here we have some examples of pH scale where they are explaining us that how we can measure the basicity of liquids. So just like acids, here each numeric change in pOH will represent a factor of 10. So if there is a pH of 6, it is going to be how many times more acidic than that of pH 9? Around 1000 times. So this is the rule that you have to follow every single time whenever you're measuring the acidity or the basicity of liquids. Moving on, here we have some symbols that help us to identify that whether a substance is an acidic one or a basic one. So in the first picture, we have more number of H positive ions and just one hydroxide ion, right? So based on that, we'll say that since there are more hydrogen ions, it is going to have a lower pH and therefore it is going to be more acidic. In picture number 2, we have lots of hydroxide ions and very few hydrogen ions. So it is going to have a higher value of pH, that is obviously more than 7, and this substance would be called as very basic. So depending upon different pH values, we answer that whether a particular substance is a strong one or it's a weak one. So the number one is, if at all you're measuring the acidic nature of a substance and you get your value as between 0 to 4. So if you're getting a value between 0 to 4, you will say that okay, it's a strong acid. But if the value ranges between between 4.01 to 6.99, we'll say that it's a weak acid. So even if there is a substance whose value is around 4.01 to 6.99, that means just 1 point less than that of 7, that will be a weak acid. And then if you're getting a substance whose pH value is around 7, we'll say that it's a neutral substance. For example, water. Water is a neutral substance. Then अगर हम बात करें about weak base and strong base, every substance whose pH value ranges from 7.01 to 10, they are going to be called as weak base. On the other hand, if there are substances whose pH value is from 10.01 till 14, we'll call them as strong base. So this was about how we can decide that whether a substance is a weak acid or a strong acid, a weak base or a strong base. Here we have a picture that shows the effect of acid rain on a statue. So acid rain is acidic in nature, whose pH value is around 4. So since it's around 4, we'll say that it's in strong acid, and therefore it is going to cause damage to statues, which is why we say that these acids are corrosive to different substances ranging from metals to buildings to stones and even statues. After this, we'll talk about what are neutral substances. So neutral substances means that they will have a pH value of exact 7. Then there is a balance of hydrogen and hydroxide ions in every neutral substance, and this creates pure H2O, that is water. It can be a distilled or deionized one, but water is one such substance that is neutral in nature, therefore its pH value is going to be around 7. Then it doesn't apply to each and every water. If we talk about tap water, it will